on a daily basis. We do not have any hospital that has said to us, we have an urgent need for X that we have not been able to fulfill. Two caveats. You can have employees and
I did. It was just relaxing. It's just my husband and I here, but we were able to Zoom with my sister and my niece who just turned 2 last week. And then my brother-in-law and his family were on the Zoom, so that was nice. And I talked to my dad, and it was a nice day. How was yours?
It was good. Actually, Eddie came over, and we did some social distancing, but it was nice. It's very nice.
That's nice.
Yeah, we were outside most of the time anyway, so that was great.
The weather was beautiful yesterday.
Yeah.
So I think it goes both ways. Like when it's nice, you're happy, but then like today I was like, well, it's not so bad being inside today because I wouldn't want to be outside anyway because the weather's not that great. So, I think it all works.
I like a day like today.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Maybe not this windy. I'm going to lose power. I know that.
Oh, I've heard from a few people in Dutchess County that they lost power over there earlier today. So hoping that does not happen over here. Although we're lucky, we live in the village of New Paltz. We're on the same loop as the fire department. So typically when we lose power, we're the first ones to get it back on. So we're lucky in that sense, but it's still always a pain in the butt. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yep. I know.
So, so today, what I wanted to talk about, I'm listening to this podcast. It's with Ben Kinney. So, for anybody who's not familiar with Ben Kinney, he runs, I believe they are the top team in our company. They sold like over 2,000 homes last year. He owns multiple market centers in the Washington area. He is like, when you talk about top people in the company, he's probably like top 5, agents in general. And he has this podcast. He does a lot of cool stuff, actually. He's a very interesting person to follow, and I learn a lot from him. And he also has this podcast that I've been listening to. The episodes are very short and really easy to kind of get through a bunch of them all in one time frame. It's called the Win, Make, Give podcast. The series of, he does different classes and like things that you can go in person to Washington and attend or do online, and that series is like the Win, Make, Give series. And so one of the things that he shared last week on the podcast was a 15-point energy plan. And I myself, and I heard from like many other people that last week seems to have been like a little bit when you hit the wall. I don't know, maybe if you can relate. Maybe you hit the wall earlier than last week. Maybe it'll be this coming week. But I've heard from a handful of people last week that were like, I'm over it. Like, this was whatever, and now I'm done, and I just want to get back to normalcy. And so I thought instead of talking about business, related stuff, we could cover this 15-point energy plan and chat about how we can, make the best use of our time, not only business wise, but maybe personal wise as well. So I know that and it's a 15-point plan. So there's 15 different things that they suggest you do every day for 30 days in order to get out of a rut, which can be a lot. So my caveat at the beginning is to say, if you can commit to all 15 things, that's awesome. And if you can only commit to half of them, that's great too. But maybe there's just 1 or 2 things on the list that will stick out to you that you can really start to create a habit on. One of the other things that I saved as his quote was, he said, what will the end of this situation be the beginning of? And I thought that was a very interesting quote. Like, what do you want when we get to the end of this, right? And we can return back to normalcy. What do you want that to be the beginning of? Do you want that to be the beginning of your best year in real estate? Do you want that to be the beginning of the best year health-wise? Do you want that to be the beginning of, you know, growing an investment portfolio, or just having better work-life balance, or whatever it is? I would encourage everybody to think about that, right? And it might be something that you journal about a little bit. Like, what do you want your life to look like when we come out on the other side of this? And then what are the steps that need to be taken now over the course of the next couple of weeks to make that happen? So I'm going to share my screen. Oh, good, it's right here. Okay. So this is the 15-point plan that he went over. And if you look, I will tell you then, hang on, if you bear with me for 1 second, I'll tell you what the actual name. Oh, there's a new one. Good. It's episode 20 of his podcast, and it's called Win with Your Energy Levels. How you can improve yours with this 15-point plan to manage your energy. So, like me, you might have, it might be ebbing and flowing, right? Like some days you can feel really motivated and energized to get a lot done, and some days you might be like, I can't do it. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to do a half day and take the rest of the day off, or this is just going to be an off day for me. What I found is that there are certain ways that you can keep your energy high, even just in general on a work day on a day that isn't necessarily a work day. And so these are the 15 things that he recommends. So I was thinking that we can go through them one by one, and if anybody on the call has suggestions about hobbies or exercises or anything that you suggest that could help with this, we can all brainstorm together to create a plan around it, and I'll share some ideas that I have too. So the first thing is exercise daily, and that's probably common sense for most people, although even though it's common sense, do we all do it? I know up until last week, I literally for maybe 18 months have been saying I'm going to get into a workout habit and not doing it. Like, I just don't do it. I mean, for no other reason than I just don't do it. Last week, I finally committed to exercising, not daily, but I did exercise 4 days last week. I exercised this morning when I woke up, so that was good. So, and it can be in small spurts. So some ideas for exercise. I know that there is, what I'm doing. Oh yes, Linda, I will post this also in our Facebook group as a PDF, and you can download it. And then the second page I'll show you is a tracker. So it's to break out of a rut in 30 days. So the days are across the top, and then you can check off each day which one of these things you're able to do. So I'll upload this to our Facebook group, and I'll email it out as well. So exercise, hang on 1 second. Oh, good. So exercise daily. So what I've been doing is we don't have a Peloton, but I downloaded the Peloton app. It's free for 90 days. I didn't have to put in my credit card information or anything like that. And they have a ton of cool workouts on there. They're not just for your bike. Like when you think of Peloton, you think of a bike. We don't have a bike. There's bike ones, there's treadmill ones, but then there's also just strength lifting. There's outdoor running where they will move you through like a 45-minute or a 20-minute outdoor running thing where they play music and they give you instructions about when to speed up and when to walk. There's videos on there for all different levels. So I've been doing like more of the beginner stuff, and really like 10 minutes. Like I've been doing 10-minute body strength workouts in the morning, and it's just enough to get my heart going a little bit, and it's been very helpful. I've also seen like the Beachbody is doing like 60 days free trial. There's a million YouTube videos, I'm sure, that you can get on to. There's like the exercise apps on your phone that you can use to track this. But I think that it's important that just for whatever amount of time you can do every day, just move your body, right? Whether that involves something elaborate and doing like one of these, big challenging like Beachbody programs you can do over a month and get in great shape, or if it's just doing 100 sit-ups or 50 sit-ups or 20 sit-ups and a couple jumping jacks and stretching every day. I think that the exercise and moving your brain definitely helps. I know that when there's been times where I have focused on exercising daily, my mental health has been way, way better than times when I haven't. So that's always a good one. And there's ways that you can exercise in your house. I think with technology nowadays, you don't have to go really to a gym in order to exercise. Okay, number 2 is don't drink calories. This might be sad, right? It slows you down and depresses you. This includes alcohol. Most experts do say that the goal is to drink like half of your weight in ounces of water per day in order to be hydrated. So I know like right now I'm using this. I had a different cup I was using and it got kind of gross. So now I'm using this big jar and my goal is to drink it 3 times per day. I'm not necessarily going to advocate for like giving up alcohol unless that's something that you feel you need to do. Although we really don't drink. Over the weekend, we got takeout from Hudson Taco in Newburgh. If anybody's looking for a great takeout spot, it was delicious. And they actually gave us margaritas to go, which was also awesome. But besides that, I don't drink very much. But that's something to think about too. If you're thinking about getting healthy, it is just excess calories, sodas, iced teas, alcoholic drinks, things like that. It might not be necessary, and by cutting it out and just sticking to water, you can feel a lot better. All right, the third thing is don't sleep too much or too little, right? If you stay up late, get up at your normal time every day. It'll make you tired, so eventually you'll pass out and get a good night's sleep. So if you find that because you're working from home, you've gotten off of your sleep schedule a little bit, maybe you're staying up a little bit later or you're sleeping in a little bit longer, our sleep, it really does have a direct correlation to our health and how we feel during the day. So I'm still striving to get up at the same time as I did when I was going into the office every day. I try and go to bed at the same time, which for me is usually about 10 p.m. and then I wake up, my alarm goes off at 6:30. So that's what my just schedule is, and I found that works for me. Now, some people can get only 6 hours of sleep and feel very rested, and other people can get 8 or 9 to feel really rested. It's not about an exact number, and they talked about this on the podcast. There's like three guys on the podcast. There's 2 guys that interview Ben about these different topics, and they all had different optimum sleep times, where it's Ben was saying like 6 hours is cool, and then I'm good. If I go over 6 hours, I feel really poor. And then the other guy was saying like his is more like 8 hours, and if he gets less or more, he doesn't feel great. So I think tracking our sleep during this time can be really important and a good habit to get into. I was having this conversation with, I think it was, with Linda last week when we were coaching. I was saying as of last Thursday, which was the 9th, right? They say in general that it takes 21 days to form a habit. So if you think that, okay, as of now, we know at least the executive order is until April 29th, right? And maybe into May even, but we know that for all intents and purposes, we are going to be in our homes for at least, the balance of the month. So last Thursday, what I was thinking is, oh, wow, it's 21 days until the end of the quarantine as we know it now. Maybe it will be a little bit past that. But if it's 21 days until that time frame, well, what are the habits I can put into place now that I will commit to through the balance of that end of the day, so that when we get on the other side of it, it now is just a habit and something that I do every day. And so maybe you can pick out one of these things and make that a habit now. And if you started now, you would have a habit by the very beginning of May as things start to return to normal. This could just be your new normal, that you do all of these things daily. The next one is never skip meals, right? So that one's pretty self-explanatory. I know that there's tons of ways that you can meal prep or, plan out things in advance or do sometimes what I'll do is I will prep meals on Sunday so that I have quick things that I can grab during the week. Right now we have a little more time where we can make more meals at home because we're home, but that's not always the case. I don't know if you guys I'm right like maybe 30 feet from the road. So as all the traffic goes by, I never know if it's just blaring onto the screen or not. And there's just a bunch of fire trucks that went by. So anyways, okay. So never skip meals. That's always important. Never allow negativity around you. So I think never is pretty tough, right? Like never allowing anything negative. But I think that if you can strive to get things that are negative out of your life. I know, especially right now, you can go into a hole on social media or watching the news constantly where it just is all doom and gloom and doom and gloom and people complaining and everybody's like in a panic and it's all, bad things. I don't think that the solution is to stick your head in the sand and just ignore what's going on, but I also do think that the more negativity you have around you, the more negative thoughts you will have, and the farther it's going to be to get yourself out of a rut, right? So if we're talking about particularly times when you feel like you're in a rut, that might be a time where you really do cut out all negativity around you. And then once you get out of the rut, you might let, some better balance in of things. But I think that if you're in a rut or you're really trying to increase your energy levels, that the less negativity you can have around you, the better. And what I found is, this is just so random. On Friday, I was just bored. I'm like, okay, I'm bored. I don't feel like coloring. Like, what am I gonna do? I downloaded the stupid TikTok app and probably spent an ungodly amount of time on that app this weekend, because for me at least, what they were showing me was just little funny videos. Like you pick at the beginning what you like. So I picked like babies and puppies and comedy and like little, like just nothing negative. And then every video was just like, it was a good perspective when I was feeling like I can't get on Facebook and listen to people argue with each other. Instagram's boring me. I don't have anything else to watch on TV. A TikTok was like this great way to get the negativity out. So maybe that might be something that you can look into as well. Or it might just be, instead of turning on social media or opening up the news, turning on the news, you read a book. Right? Pick up a book that you've wanted to read, a business book. Yeah, Christine said idea. Yeah, pick up a book. Like there's a million books. If you would like ideas for different books that might give you a good perspective, I'm happy to recommend them. I know one of the books that really made a difference in my life from an energy standpoint was The Miracle Morning. And then there's a Miracle Morning for real estate agents. That was a great book, all about setting intentions first thing in the morning and how do you plan out your day to be successful. I loved that book. There's also, they're good, right, Eddie? They are good. Yeah. There was also I follow Rachel and Dave Hollis on Instagram, and they're like personal speakers and they're motivational. They're doing right now a last 90-day challenge thing where they're motivating people every day to stay productive and stay positive during this time. They always have a good perspective on things. There's some other people like Ben Kinney. He does a good job on his podcast, listening to that. So I try and get the negativity out to make room for some positive growth stuff. A great book that I read that would be very timely for right now, as we're talking about taking mind share right now so that we can take market share later, is a book called The 7 Levels of Communication, Going from Relationships to Referrals. It is an excellent book. It is all about how you become a connector within your community to make connections with others, so that you're always that person when you think of like, oh, who you might know of, the person that you know that always like has a guy for that. You know what I mean? Like you call them and you're like, my tire just blew, and they're like, I have a guy, call this number and you'll be set up, right? The whole book is based around a system you can put into place, which right now it's part of it is like doing one-on-one coffee things and stuff like that, which you can still do virtually now, but I think that it's a good book. If you start to really commit to being a mover and important in your community and a community connector, something just flew off my roof, sorry. Maybe a shingle, I don't know, it's windy here today. If you work on becoming a community connector, you can really start to get business by referral, which is really inexpensive. So again, the name of the book is The 7 Levels of Communication, going from relationships to referrals. Okay, journaling, that's the next thing up. Journaling is one of my favorite activities. I journal first thing in the morning. I keep a business journal, and I only write business related stuff in it, and it only takes me about 5 minutes when I first wake up in the morning. I jot down some things. Sometimes if I'm feeling particularly stressed out about something, or I don't really know what I'm stressed out about, but I'm just feeling a little stressed, I will open my journal and just start writing, and usually 9 times out of 10, what I'm stressed will make its way onto the page. Even like subconsciously, I'll start to work it out. Journaling is a great way to get your thoughts on paper. There's a lot going on right now, right? And there's a lot of information to digest, and there's a lot of ideas that you might be having around your business that you can't quite get into a planning mode. I would say that the first thing that you want to do is journal, and that can be as easy as using that perfect day planner that I posted in our Facebook group and is available in our productivity coaching resources folder under business documents. That's a very easy 1-page sheet that you can use every day just to track what your priorities are for the day, right? So you list some things that you're grateful for. You hone in on what your one big goal is for the day or the week or the year. You create some affirmations for yourself, and you list out what your priorities for the day are. What I found the most powerful when I started journaling was that I started setting my priorities for the day. And what I determined was an ideal number of priorities was just 3 things. And they all had to make me money or move my business forward. And so I would set those 3 priorities every day, and I still do this. I set my 3 priorities for the day, and then that's what those are non-negotiable. I have to get those 3 things done, but it's only 3 things. Like I don't set 15 things because I'm not going to get 15 things done. It's never going to happen. So I set my 3 things and then I get them done. And it's helped actually during this time to maintain to continue to set those priorities, because if it's a day when I'm feeling like a little blah or like, I don't know, I'm feeling tired. Well, I set my 3 priorities. I do my 3 priorities. So I move my business forward. And if I can do that in a couple of hours, then if it's a day where I'm like, I just need to clean the house or do something else productive that's not work related, I give myself permission to be able to do that because I've done my priorities, right? Like we all have a laundry list of things to do every day, but which one of those things are actually your priorities? That's something that journaling first thing in the morning can really help you with. Journaling at night can also help you kind of recap the day. What did you do well during the day? What do you need to work on for the day forward? What are your intentions for the day the next day? What were your intentions this morning, and did you actually hit it? If you didn't hit it, what got in your way? Right? What can you do differently so that you make sure that you stay on track? All right, so journal. Pray, which might look different to depending if you're religious or you might believe in, other things, or you might not be religious at all. I think that the overarching idea there is just to set out good intentions, right, into the world. So I know that this kind of combines with the next one, which is say what you're grateful for. I have been listing things that I'm grateful for in the morning, and I've tried to add this into my journal, a couple of things that I'm grateful for, right? They do say you can't be grateful and angry at the same time. It's pretty impossible to feel grateful and feel angry at the same time. So anytime you're feeling angry, can you change that conversation around and figure out what you're grateful for? Or even better, what is the situation that you're angry about teaching you? What is the lesson that you can learn on the other side of a frustrating situation or a situation that you're angry about? that you'll ultimately be grateful for a lesson that you might be learning, right? Or for honing in on different skills to deal with, different stressors in our life. I think that starting with being grateful and putting this into your daily routine can be a very, very powerful way to increase your energy. If every single day you sat for 30 days and listed what you're grateful for, and listen, on day one, it's probably going to be, I'm grateful for my family, I'm grateful for my home, I'm grateful for my dog, I'm grateful for my health, like the basics, right? Get past the basics though, right? Like every day it can't just be, I'm grateful for my family, we know, like we're all grateful for those things. Get a little bit deeper and maybe more specific, right? Like think about small things like I'm grateful. My husband has spent most of our morning cleaning our house this morning while I've worked. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that we have a washer and dryer that works and we have clean clothes. I'm grateful that we have, food in the fridge for the week and that we're going to have chili tonight. There's very specific things on your day-to-day that you can think of that maybe as the day is going on, you're not necessarily taking into consideration, but if you really stop and point to them, those are things that you're really happy and grateful for during the week. So that can be very powerful. Gratitude is one of the easiest ways to get yourself out of a rut, and it can certainly be, for instance, I've had times where I've had very difficult deals where you're dealing with a difficult client or a difficult agent on the other side or a difficult attorney or a bad home inspection report or all of the hosts of things that can go wrong as you continue to work in your real estate business. And as much as sometimes you can feel like, I just want to throw my hands up, this is very frustrating, how can you change that to saying, wow, I'm so grateful that I was able to put a deal together during this time. Wow, I'm so grateful that I was able to find these buyers a house to get them an accepted offer and to the inspection point. Wow, I'm so grateful that we found out all of these issues at the home inspection so that my client is backing out of the deal and not getting an unsafe house or a house that they didn't want. And I'm so grateful that I can continue to help them search and make a good decision, right? So how can you turn around frustrating situations and instead figure out what you're grateful for in them? Okay, the next one is review written goals daily. So this is super important. And at Keller Williams, there's no shortage of goal trackers, right? You can track your goals in Command. We have the 411, where every week you can take your yearly goal, your monthly goal, and then on a week-by-week basis, set up what your goal is for just that week, right? Another goal that you should have written down, and if you're using that perfect day planner, it's right on there. It says, how many appointments do I need to set this month, and how many have I set so far? So for instance, I need to set 5 appointments in April. So far, I've set 3. Write that down. You should always know where you are in terms of your goals. And there's all different ways that people do this. You can obviously do this right through Command. You can do it through keeping a notebook. I do it 2 ways. I keep my goals, actually 3 ways. I keep my goals in Command. I keep my goals in this ARC planner right on the front page. I track everything in a calendar. And then I keep my goals in a whiteboard that my husband has hanging where he works, and that tracks more of our yearly goals and some other stuff that we have, right? I also keep a business, actually 4 places. Maybe this is too many places, I don't know, but I keep them everywhere because the more that they're in front of me and in my face, the more I recommit to them every time I see them. You might make your goals the screen lock on your phone. So every time you pick up your phone, you have your goals sat there, right? Everybody on this call has sat with me and done a business plan. When you join productivity coaching, are those still your goals? Or was that just a fun exercise to do when you were brand new with your license and I told you to pick an income goal and you picked whatever you picked and you haven't looked at it or thought about it since? Or are those serious goals and non-negotiables, right? If they're serious goals and non-negotiables, you should have them in front of you in multiple ways and you should be tracking them every week. Every Friday you get an email from me. It says, what are your goals? Respond here with these 4 numbers. How many appointments did you go on? How many accepted offers? How many deals have you put under contract and how many closings have you had? It's that easy. Those are the 4 main goals that you should be tracking at all times. I have to be honest, most of you don't send me back your numbers. And I have to wonder why. I mean, I sat with you all as you came into productivity coaching and you set these big goals and you're so excited. But now what's happened, right? So is either was the goal that we set not the actual goal, or is the plan that you put into place as a result of those goals not the plan, right? The ones that report their goals are usually the ones that are on track. So, but it's more so important. It's always important to track your goals, but it's more so important to track things when you're off track, so that we can make sure that as we're coaching one-on-one every week, we're putting a plan into place so that you are getting back on track and you are hitting your goals. Or we're looking at your goals and saying, maybe this wasn't a smart goal, maybe this wasn't a realistic goal, and what should the new goal be? Your goal should be something that you're motivated to hit, not just some, random number you put on a page. So I think that reviewing your written goals daily is super important. Laugh daily, right? It says, this is funny, in the podcast they were saying, set a timer on your phone for 30 seconds and just laugh for no reason. And Ben was saying, I think he said like every week on one of their leadership calls, he like makes everybody just laugh. And he's like, it's so uncomfortable because you're not laughing at anything. You're just like laughing. And he was like, it's very odd, but it works very well, right? Or watch something funny, like just for 30 seconds. It does change your entire energy. I'm telling you, I've never laughed so hard at an app as I have at TikTok over the weekend. All these ridiculous videos people putting out, it's funny. So I was enjoying watching them and laughing at that. Personal growth, right? Try to learn something new every day. Read books, listen to podcasts, and watch videos. There's tons of videos real estate wise that you can watch on KW Connect. There's tons of videos you can put up on YouTube that are helpful for any topic, learning to sell real estate. There's lots of motivational people that you can follow on social media that can help, like Brendan Bouchard is a great one. Rachel and Dave Hollis are great. Tony Robbins is always good. Brene Brown is good. I'm trying to think. These are just people I follow. If you have other people that you know of, feel free to put it into the chat and we'll share there too. Diana Kokoska is a good person to follow on Facebook. She was the former head of MAPS coaching with our company, and she is a powerhouse of a human being, and she's just so smart and knowledgeable, and she puts a lot of great stuff onto social media. Who else do I really like? I'm trying to think. Those are the names that pop into my head, top of mind. And then I'll give you guys some podcasts that I've been listening to, and if you have some podcasts too that you want to contribute, either unmute yourself and add it into the chat, or type it into the box and I can read them. So we talked a little bit about the When We Give podcast with Ben Kinney. I've also been listening to a podcast called Everything Life and Real Estate, which is with Linda McKissick and this woman, Dana Gentry. There is, John Maxwell. John Maxwell, if you're looking for somebody motivational and John Maxwell is like the godfather of that. It's like him and Zig Ziglar are like the two, top people in that space. And so he has a podcast. What is this called? The Leadership Podcast with John Maxwell. Any John Maxwell book, he has 1 million of them, is excellent. And he talks about all different types of leadership and growth information. He really is awesome. There's the Craig Groeschel Leadership Podcast, and I can post a list of this too. Business Meets Spirituality. That is a podcast with Adam Hergenrother, who is another one of these really big guys in our company. Yep, I was going to say the One Thing podcast is really good. That's based off of the One Thing book. That's excellent. Monica recommends GSD, Real Estate Uncensored, and Tom Ferry. Tom Ferry always has good practical stuff. I listen sometimes to the Dave Ramsey show. Dave Ramsey is a financial guru. He gives you information about how to get your finances in order. He's very helpful. There is the Entre Leadership podcast, which is ENTRE Leadership Podcast. Rachel Hollis has her own podcast. That's the Rise podcast. Gary Keller has a podcast, Think Like a CEO. That's excellent. There's a lot of great podcasts out there. And, you know, if you start to put into like, for what I do when I go on my walks is I find a podcast that I want to listen to. And it's usually a pretty easy way for me to just zone out, listen to the podcast. I've been listening to Dax Shepard's Armchair Expert podcast, and he has pretty good long form interviews with a lot of people, and he gets pretty deep with them, and that I've really enjoyed. That's been my walking podcast, and I've liked that a lot. Yeah, Monica says Armchair Expert's best. Yeah, it's really good. I just discovered it like probably 2 months ago maybe, and I've been pretty addicted to it. Monica also recommends the Happiness Lab, and that's one I'll have to check out. I'm not familiar with that one. Yeah, so there's lots of good podcasts, and the apps are free. You know, you just download them and you search for what you're looking for. And I listen to podcasts as I'm cleaning the house or walking the dog, or, you know, doing whatever, going on my walk. It's a good way to always be in a personal growth zone. Another thing that you can do is create a growth plan for the year. And so a growth plan is really as a document. I do it in Excel spreadsheet form where you list out your personal goals, your business goals, the books that you want to read, the classes you want to take, the events you want to attend at the beginning of the year, so that every month you can look and see, okay, what is my business goal for the month? What's my personal goal for this month? What is the book that I want to read this month? And so on and so forth, so that you can track it during the year and make a plan out of it. So then that's one of the things that can go on to your 411 when you're creating your 411 for the month, would be whatever's on your growth plan for the year. Okay, next is doing a hobby daily. So that, you know, I picked up like a month ago coloring, which is just dumb, but I've enjoyed it, and it's something, so I'm not staring at a screen. I started getting migraines by like Wednesday at 3. I would have like a migraine headache for the rest of the week because I was looking at too much stuff, too many phones and computers and TVs and everything else. So it's dumb. Linda's laughing at me. It's like, I feel like I'm 5, but I really enjoy it. I like whatever. It's fun. So I bought like a set of 80 markers, and I just got I ordered a coloring book that just came in the mail. I ordered it like a month ago. It just came in, so that'll be my next thing. And that's been a good way for me to shut my myself down from work at the end of the day. As we're all working from home, I think it's important that you have a start time and a stop time, right? Like, and having a designated work area in your house. If you have a designated office in your house, then when you sit down in the morning, you get up at the same time every day, right? Like we were talking about, sit down at your work desk, work until whatever time you're done working, or work until you have your 3 priorities done for the day, and then leave your work desk and move on into the personal part of working of the day, which doesn't involve growth, that, or doesn't involve business, that can help. So there's lots of hobbies that you can pick up: painting, coloring, exercising. Color while listening to a podcast. Yes, I do. It's great. It's amazing. Yes. So there's lots of hobbies that you can pick up. Focus. I told my husband that I want to order puzzles. So that will be our next adventure, maybe a puzzle. Or I saw couples that were ordering Lego sets, like the intricate, oh, I know, that's what I was thinking too. Monica says, good luck finding one. I was thinking about doing like Lego, like the big Lego sets or something like that, where you could build like a whole village. I mean, just doing anything that kind of keeps you occupied, because I don't know about any of you, I have a very hard time just sitting. Like, I can't just sit still. I need to be busy doing something. And so what I was ending up doing was just busy like scrolling on my phone endlessly. And then it's like negativity and stress and all this. So I'm like, nope, now I just color, I listen to my podcast, and it's all good. Okay, focus on others, volunteer, donate, help friends, right? This goes back to making those care calls every day. If you've been making care calls every day, you might find that you really are getting, as much as you're giving out and giving back to people, you're probably getting a lot of that back to yourself as well. Protect and limit alone time. Don't get too much, but also protect it so we at least have some alone time every day. And I think that you know, for many of us, we're in houses with other people, right? And so it's important that you still have that alone time. And I would say also important, equally important, is to have planning time. And usually planning time is time that you have by yourself as well. So if you can every day just set aside some planning time, it might be first thing in the morning where you exercise and you journal and you set your priorities for the day and you plan out what you're going to do, and you fill up your big thing of water and get the day started off on the right foot. You read your book for 10 minutes. I think that protecting that time can be very important. And then his final suggestion is don't work more than 50 hours a week. And what he was saying is that you won't be as productive past this point. So if you hit 50 hours, once you get past that, there's been studies that show you become significantly less productive after that point. And so what that means is, you know, if you're working 50 hours a week, you need to be in real estate, particularly, especially in the busy season, you have to be very particular about where you're spending your hours, especially if you're somebody that works with a lot of buyers and you're spending a lot of those 50 hours showing houses, right? So if your goal is to spend 50 hours a week working, then you need to be really purposeful with those hours. And you could replace that with whatever it is. If you're somebody on the call right now who also has another job, and so real estate is a 20 or 30 hour a week goal, or 15 hour or 10 hour a week, well, that's okay too. Then just change the number from 50 to whatever your goal is for your real estate business that week, and try not to go past it. And again, if you're going to be committed to your goals for the day, right, and then you can know that, okay, these are my written goals and these are my priorities. And with these priorities, as long as I hit them, I'm not going to need to work more than 50 hours per week, right? And some of that just goes back to, you know, time management and planning a schedule. And I think that if you're able to do a handful of the things on this list, like review your written goals daily and focus on personal growth, don't sleep too much or too little, and journal, that just those things together will probably allow you to really hone in on what's important for your business so that you're not working more than 50 hours per week. So what do you think? Was this helpful? I hope it was. I found it helpful when I listened to the podcast last week. And so, you know, we have, at a minimum, we have 3 weeks, right? At a minimum, 3 weeks we'll be home, we know, and maybe 4, 5, 6, or 8 weeks at home. And so I think that I wanted to go over this today because it might help you, and it's not really necessarily real estate related, although a lot of this stuff does. If you do all of this effectively, your energy will increase, which will increase your energy for working on your real estate business, right? So if you're in a good mindset and you have good systems going and you have a good habits that you're building for yourself now, you will be unstoppable when you get out of this, right? Like, think about if you're really doing all of these things for the next 3 weeks, what is your life going to look like when all of this is just second nature to you? And now we can add back in running your business as usual. Well, you're already going to be committed to doing this, and it's not going to be as much of a focus because it's going to become automatic. Oh, Linda just heard the quarantine has been extended to May 8th. Okay, so so then at that point, that really does give you like the full 1, 2, 3. So that's like 4 weeks. So that would give you 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 21. So that's 23 days, right? So we're talking about at the beginning, you have 21 days to form a habit. That means that you have 2 days to get your act together. And then if you start the next day after that and do all of these things for the next 21 days, say May 9th, we're able to start showing houses again and meeting people in person, how balanced will your life be at that point, right? How will you have a healthy work-life balance? Will you have grown personally over the next month? Will you have developed hobbies and stress coping mechanisms, right, for the next time? Because this certainly isn't the last stressful scenario that we're going to go through. Although it might not be this exact scenario again, there will be something else that happens that's stressful, either on a global, wise level, or a personal level, or on a business level, or an economy level, right? There's always things that ebb and flow throughout our year, throughout the day, throughout the month, that are going to ebb and flow how you feel with your energy. The more that you can maintain these helpful habits, and this is just the default of the way that you run your business and your life, the more that as things ebb and flow, you can remain even keeled in the middle of it, right? And I think just like everything else, the quicker that it's just like, I always use this, and I probably use this, you probably all heard me say this before. When you're born, you're not born knowing how to brush your teeth, right? But at some point you get teeth and your parents make you brush your teeth. And what do most little kids do? They fight it. They don't want to go in and brush their teeth. They don't want to do it. They argue. They say that they did brush their teeth when they really didn't. It's like a whole to do, is my understanding from a lot of parents. Well, brushing your teeth isn't an innate habit, isn't an innate ability, right? It's a habit that you form when you're really little. Your parents don't just say, oh, okay, never mind, you don't ever have to brush your teeth because you don't want to and you're throwing a temper tantrum. No, they make you go and brush your teeth until it becomes the point where now it's just a habit, where every day you wake up, hopefully, and you brush your teeth in the morning and you brush your teeth at night. And if you're like me, if you miss one of that, or you start your day and you start doing stuff, or you end your day and you haven't quite brushed your teeth, you feel like something's off. Well, something's off because you haven't hit that habit that is so ingrained in your memory now that you feel like unkiltered from it, right? And you can do that with any habit. You can do that with exercise. You can do that with laughing, daily. You can do that with doing a hobby daily. Any one of those things can be just as second nature as brushing your teeth. The key is just to pick what you're going to focus on, and then really committing to focusing on it, right? If you want to share your list with me of things that you want to commit to doing, please do so. And I would love to hold you accountable at our one-on-one coaching sessions to see what you've been working on, how we can create a plan to help you with all of this, so that ultimately, like I said at the beginning of the session, right, at the end of this, what do you want that to be the beginning of? So if we come out of this in 23 days, do you want that to be the beginning of the time where you now are somebody that exercises daily, or somebody that has cut down their alcohol consumption, or somebody that gets a healthy amount of sleep and works a normal schedule, or somebody that writes down their goals and then actually hits them, right? Or somebody that focuses on a hobby and actually creates work-life balance for themselves. Somebody that doesn't work more than 50 hours per week. Do you want that to be who you are? Well, right now we're being given the gift of time, really, as we're all at home. For not everybody. I know some people have small kids at home, and you maybe just crumple this up and throw it out. I don't know. I don't have kids at home, so I have a little more time, but I'm definitely cognizant that this is not everybody has all of this.
Thank you for calling Vineyard Commons. This is Anthony. How can I help you?
Oh, hi, Anthony.
Hi, Anthony. This is Therese Paff in 5104. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Oh, Anthony works at he also has a job at Vineyard Commons, which is a 55 and older community in Highland, actually where my parents live. So it could have been my mom on the phone. Okay. So, all right. So yeah, so at the end of this, what can you come out of with a new habit formed is the gist of my message for the day. And so Eddie shared this quote. He said, someone else is praying for the things you take for granted. Something to keep in mind when you're feeling down, right? And by the way, the someone could be you 2 or 3 years ago when you were praying that you could have a real estate business, or 6 months ago when you were going through the course, right? I try and put that into perspective, and that's a great quote. I love that, Eddie. And I think that sometimes it's tough when you get in the thick of it to then keep in mind, like, well, the alternative was I was working at a desk job that I hated before this, and now I have my real estate license and I really like doing it, but it's hard to build my real estate business. But if you told me 6 months ago that I would be complaining because I have clients that are driving me crazy, I would think that I was crazy for saying that, because I would just be so grateful that I even had a client, right? And so there's definitely ways that you can switch your mindset around a little bit, and that goes back to the grateful section, right? Like, how can you turn the things that might seem like a headache now into really something that you're really grateful for? I know I've had moments where I've had to think that, well, you know, the alternative is that I don't have this business and I'm back working at a law office at a job that I hated. So I'll take the stress and stuff that comes here instead. Okay, so I will post this in our Facebook group, so you'll have access to download this. Again, on the second page is a tracker. And keep this handy, because it's not necessarily just for right now, although I think right now it's really timely to do. It really can be a good resource for any time you're feeling stuck in a rut, right? And even if you commit to half of them, right? If you just picked 7 things on this list, how would your life shift around? Yeah, Linda said it's great for my boys too. Yeah, I think that it's great. You could share this with your spouse, right? This isn't real estate specific. You could share it with your kids. I think that the best thing that we can do for ourselves is to create healthy habits. Right? Everything you do during the day is a series of habits at the end of the day. A lot of the stuff you do is just a series of habits. And so the more habits that you can create for yourself, healthy habits in particular, I think the more you'll feel fulfilled in your life. Okay, so any questions on anything? Just before we end, I'm just gonna write it down. I have my meeting with Anna in 7 minutes, where we go over my plans for the month for PC. So I just want to write down who's on the call so I can report back. Monica, Linda. Anthony, Ryan, Alex. Okay, cool. Thanks, guys. So as always, I always appreciate you guys coming on Monday and spending some time with me. I hope that this is helpful for you, and if there's anything that I can do during the week to help you put this plan into place, or if you want to run ideas past me, or you want to put personal growth in but you want some additional ideas about how to do that, just let me know. I'm happy to focus on that this week at 101 Coaching, and next week we'll come up with a new exciting topic to talk about. All right, thanks, guys. Have a great week, and I will talk to you all this week during 101 Coaching. Bye.